students, welcome back to my channel Hayat tutorial. So today we are going to read the 6th chapter of the geography syllabus, rocks. And in the previous chapter, that was the earth structure, we read that in the chemical composition that the crust, or you could say the lithosphere, that was made up of rocks with certain minerals like mica, feldspar and other types of minerals, etc. So first of all, we are going to differentiate between rocks and minerals. Okay, so see here, for reviewing it from the book, I want you to see this video that will help you to just have a summary of this chapter before we start studying from the book. Now, rocks or mineral. In this video, we will see that what's the difference between these two. So basically, what rock is, that rock is made up of minerals, or you could say broken pieces of rocks, and they may contain organic remains, mean the dead remains of plants and animals. Rocks are divided into three basic types depending on how they are formed, that is igneous rock, metamorphic rock and sedimentary rock. For igneous rock, when the volcano erupts and the magma that cools down, then it forms igneous rocks. They are the first to form. And the types of igneous rocks, they are granite, pumice, obsidian and basalt, and these examples are very important. For sedimentary rocks, they are formed from the deposits of pre-existing rocks or minerals, and they may contain fossil fuels, the remains of the dead plants and animals. And they are formed because of high pressure. And the types of sedimentary rocks are sandstone, limestone, shale, gasite. And as you can see in the video, that is a sedimentary rock. Next is metamorphic rock. Metamorphic rock forms when high temperature and pressures act on a rock to alter its physical and chemical property. It is formed due to high pressure, and the types of metamorphic rocks are quartzite, marble, soapstone, phyllite, gneiss. These are the types of metamorphic rocks. Now, minerals. Minerals is a solid that can be made of single element or compound. Note element. It can be silica, it can be carbonate, and it is formed naturally, non-man-made. The characteristics are, they are natural occurring, they are inorganic, they are solid at room temperature, a typical ordered crystalline structure which usually forms crystal, and they have a definite chemical composition. So this is your minerals, the characteristics of minerals. Next is the differences. Rocks, they are made up of one or more minerals. Minerals, they are made up of elements and compounds. Rocks, they may include organic matter, that remains of plants and animals, and minerals, they don't contain no organic material. Rocks, they form the solid crust of the earth, and minerals, they make up the earth's rock and sand, which is an important component of soils. Like they provide potassium and all that. So this is a thing that I told you about the differentiate between rock and minerals. Now the types of rock, I told you there are three types of rock: igneous and sedimentary rocks. First we will study igneous rock and the kinds of igneous rocks. So here is the formation of igneous rock. Now first of all, igneous, the word igneous is a Latin word which means fire. So these are formed due to the cooling and the solidification. Like when the volcano erupts, the magma flows, and when that magma cools down, then it forms igneous rocks. That is how it is formed. and they're the first to be formed, like after when the volcano erupts, igneous rocks are formed. So that's why they are called primary rocks, because they are formed first, and they form the basic formation of other types of rocks like granite, basalt. Now there are few characteristics. They are hard and compact. After the magma that cools down, the rock becomes hard, and they are formed by the solidification of molten magma, as I told you. And they are granular and crystalline, means it is similar to crystal, like it has a crystal-like structure, and granular means small pieces. So they are smooth and they're compact, and they may have large crystals with coarse texture, means rough texture हो सकता है. And the size of the crystal depends on the rate of cooling. That if means rapid cooling forms small stones, or you could say small rocks, and slow cooling means big rocks. So the rate of cooling of the molten material that depends for the size of the crystal. If it is high, if the rate of cooling that is very fast, then it will form small rocks. But if it cools down slowly, then big rocks will form. Okay, so these are very easy characteristics. If you know how the igneous rocks are formed or how they look, then you can easily write the answers in this question, that what are the characteristics of igneous rocks. Others are that most of them consist of silicates. As you read, that rocks, they contain minerals element like silicates or metallic materials or carbonates. So most of the igneous rock, they consist of silicate. Silicate is a type of mineral whose chemical formula, that is Si. And these rocks are less affected by chemical weathering, because water that does not percolate in these rocks. Means there is one chapter in your geography syllabus, that is weathering. Weathering refers to the decomposition of rocks, and there are 3 types of weathering, which we will study later. But here, the 6th point means that in some rocks, water just... So you might have seen these types of woods which are rotted because of water. Why? Because of weathering. This is that chapter, the weathering. So weathering, there are basically 3 types of weathering: physical and chemical and biological. These are of physical. Physical is also called mechanical weathering also. So here what happens in this situation, the water that is the cracks or the you could say the joints of rocks, they get filled with water, and because of expansion and contraction, on account of repeated actions of melting and freezing, it just break apart in the granular form, in a small pieces. The same thing happens in terms of rocks. Water that gets filled up in the rocks, and because of expansion and contraction, the rocks, they just break down, they just decomposed. And igneous rock, they don't have layers. They are generally weathered by mechanical weathering, which I showed you. And as I told you, they are formed because of volcanic activity. So igneous rock, they are mostly found in volcanic areas. Okay, so these are the characteristics of igneous rock, and if you know how they are formed or how they... Next is a classification based on origin. So the igneous rocks are classified into 2 types based on their origin, from where they are originated. First is extrusive and second is intrusive. Extrusive, which are formed in on the Earth's surface, while intrusive below the Earth's surface. So extrusive igneous rocks, basically their formation is the same, but they are found on the Earth's surface. We have read how igneous rocks are formed when the volcano erupts. The magma that flows down on the Earth's surface, and when it cools down, it forms the rocks, igneous rocks. So the same thing is written here. The rocks, igneous rocks, are smooth, crystalline, fine-grained, and one thing is very important, that the extrusive igneous rocks are also called volcanic rocks. They are called also volcanic rocks, and basalt is a common example for extrusive igneous rocks. Example is given here, the giant causeway in Northern Ireland. Examples are very important. Second is intrusive rock. Intrusive, in, means the below the earth's crust. So here what happens, the formation is different. Here the magma that solidifies within the earth's crust, below the earth's crust. So there's a slightly difference in the characteristics, that they form large crystals because they are formed inside the earth's crust. So the rate of cooling, that is slow, and as I told you that slow cooling means large rocks. So the large crystals and hard rocks. Example is granite, dolomite. These are examples. See this diagram. Now there are certain types of intrusive igneous rocks. First is batholiths. Batholiths, here it is, and they are usually of dome shape. Dome shape का होता है एकदम. They don't have any definite floor, and they form in the course of the mountain ranges in below the earth's crust, we can write. And the most famous example is, important example is, that is Rachi batholiths. This is laccoliths. Laccoliths. The magma that does not reach the crust of the earth, because igneous rock, the intrusive igneous rock, they are formed below the earth's crust. As you can see here, the volcano and the rocks are formed here, deep inside the earth, not too much deep. Now the difference between batholiths and laccoliths is, batholiths, they don't have any definite floor. In the diagram you can see that it has a slightly definite, it is flat, but it is not. The laccoliths, they are flat at the base, and they are dome-like structures at the upper side. Upper surface is dome-shaped, but the lower bottom is flat. And lacco is a Greek word which means cistern. Cistern means, and they are the first to be formed, like after when the volcano erupts, igneous rocks are formed. So that's why they are called primary rocks, because they are formed first, and they form the basic formation of other types of rocks like granite, basalt. Now there are few characteristics. They are hard and compact. After the magma that cools down, the rock becomes hard, and they are formed by the solidification of molten magma, as I told you. And they are granular and crystalline. Means next is siles. This is sile, and now sometimes what happens when the magma material is, you could say it is in the asthenosphere. We read in the earth structure what is asthenosphere. So sometimes the magma that flows in layers, between layers also, and there it hardens and it forms sile. So this is sile. These rocks are formed when magma cools down between layers. Next is dike. This is dike, and because of huge pressure, we read in the earth structure that the core, the inner core, that is in solid because of high pressure, and lower mantle is solid because of high pressure. Because of these high pressure, sometimes magma also flows. Magma is forced to, it fills in the fissures. Fissures होते हैं in the earth's surface, in the earth structure में कहीं कहीं पे cracks भी होते हैं. Sometimes there are cracks and fissures. So what happens, the magma that sometimes flows into those fissures or cracks, and it then solid hardens there and it forms dike. So these are forced to form. Why? Because of high pressure, and they are forced to form to fill the cracks or the fissures. Next is Nike. Nike is not given here. So this is Nike. Next, extinct volcano. You know about extinct volcano. Volcanoes, those who don't erupt, those who are officially dead. Sometimes the passage of the extinct volcano means from where that volcano used to be erupt, that there the passage, it gets filled with magma and it solidifies, and it known as volcanic neck or plunge. Now, as we read that extrusive igneous rocks are also called volcanic rocks. Similarly, intrusive rocks, they are called plutonic rocks. Why? Because they are found deep inside the earth, and because of slow cooling of magma, greater depth leads to the formation of crystals of large size. They are the main characteristics of the intrusive igneous rocks. Say that is, they are of large size. Why? Because of slow cooling. Why slow cooling? Because of great depth. Okay. So this was the intrusive igneous rocks and extrusive igneous rock. Those are classified on the basis of their origin. Next is classification on the basis of chemical composition. This part is very easy because on the basis of chemical composition, it is divided into two parts: acid igneous rocks and basic igneous rock. Acid, they are acidic. Not too much acidic, but they are. Silica content, that is from 65 to 85%, and here it is 40 to 60%. It is less. In the basic igneous rock, it is less, and acid igneous rocks, they generally lack in iron and magnesium, whereas in the basic, they have higher percentage of oxides. Because in chemistry, you will learn about acidic, basic, and salt. Basic, they generally have oxides, and in acid they generally have hydrogen. Hydrogen and must in acid. So it is made up of large crystals of quartz, feldspar, and mica, and it is usually used in the building material. Whereas for basic igneous rocks, they are heavy, they are dark, and here's the examples given. Now you would say that it is all written, you are telling all the written things. It is written very easy language. It's just you need to learn this. That's the thing. So this is a classification on the basis of chemical composition. So this is all about igneous rock. Next we will study about sedimentary rock and metamorphic rock. Now next form of rock is sedimentary rocks. In igneous rock, we read that because of weathering, because of physical weathering, sometimes the igneous rock, they tends to decompose. They tends to break down into smaller units. So when igneous rocks, they are exposed to the Earth's atmosphere, physical weathering that occurs, and igneous rock, they just break down, and those breakdown, they are carried by the water, glaciers, or you could say wind or ocean waves, and these rocks, they just act as the sediments and then they are deposited. This is how sedimentary rocks they are formed. The sediments they deposit for a long period in the sea, lakes or streams, and as these sediments get deposited again and again, more rocks are deposited and then it forms sedimentary rocks. Due to the weight, it just get cemented together, it just get compact together. And one more thing, sedimentary rocks can include the dead remains of plants and animals. So they are secondary rocks because why? Because they are formed by the solidifications of sediments of the original igneous rocks. Again, I'm gonna tell you about how these sedimentary rocks are formed. When the igneous rocks they are exposed to the atmosphere, they are broken down because of weathering, because of granular physical weathering, and they're carried by rivers or glaciers, and then they are deposited. Then again, as the sediments get layered at each other, then they are, because of the heavy weight of the sediments, they get just compact हो जाते हैं, cemented हो जाते हैं, and they form sedimentary rocks. And sedimentary rocks can also include the dead remains of plants and animals. Now, from the conclusion of formation of sedimentary rocks, you can conclude what are the characteristics. First characteristics, that they are derived from other rocks. Like these sedimentary rocks are derived from igneous rock. Basically, they are derived from igneous rocks. They may be formed by various processes, like weathering occurred. Then we could say erosion occurred. Okay, so they can be formed through different processes. Please just excuse these writings. Next, they are generally crystalline, they are soft as compared to igneous rocks. And they make extensive landforms, and they do not make massive rocks like batholiths and laccoliths, because the sediments they are cemented together and they formed extrusive land. Now, what are the processes involved in it? Lithification. What is lithification? Lithification is turning the loose materials into the hard rock. When the sediments of the igneous rocks they are eroded by various agents like wind, glaciers, water, ocean waves, then they are very soft. As compared to the previous igneous rocks, they are very soft. That is lithification, turning the loose sediments into hard rock. So first process, that is evaporation. Water from the loose material that gets evaporated, that's get heated up and that's get evaporated as water vapor. Second is compaction. Compaction, the sediments they are piled up, and then the sediments they are compacted, they are squeezed by the weight, and then they are turned into a hard rock. And sand is compacted in this way to sandstone. This is sandstone. Next is cementation. Cementation is the bonding together of compacted sediments. Means after compaction, as the sediments they are piling up and they're generally squeezed by the weight of the overlaying layers. So then what happens? Cementation occurs, means the sediments they get mixed together. So these are the processes. Now there is classification on the basis of formation. Mechanically formed rocks. Mechanically formed rocks means physically formed rocks. So the sediments are also called clastic sediments. The rocks formed by these sediments, they are also called clastic sediments. And They are formed by the breaking of the older rocks, means the igneous rocks. Same thing happens here also. And examples are very important. Again, I'm saying examples is very important. Shale, sandstone, clay, conglomerates, and loess. These are the examples. Again, in the sediment, they are squeezed by the weight, and then the lower layers that hardens to form rocks. And such rocks are formed in layers. They are also called stratified rocks. The best way to learn this is to make notes. Second is chemically. It is formed because of the precipitation of the mineral material, and they are compacted through evaporation. That water that turns into water vapor, liquid to gaseous state. And the examples gypsum, rock salt, and potash. And where they are found, it is also written, so it is important. Next is organically formed rocks. Organically means they are formed they contain the remains of dead plants and animals. That is organically. Organically means non-man-made. Next is on the classification of the basis of agents of formation. Riverine rocks, they are formed by the flowing water stream. Lacustrine rocks by the lake. Glacier rocks by glacier. Aeolian rocks by winds. Marine rocks. Marine rocks, there are two types of. First is calcareous sedimentary marine rocks. These are formed by the deposition of shells and skeletons of sea organs like the corals, oysters. They are formed because of these things. And they live on the ocean floor, and they extract calcium carbonate from ocean water. Chalk and limestone, they contain calcium. In chemistry also, you will learn that they contain calcium. B is carbonaceous. Notice the word calcareous, they contain calcium, and carbonation, they contain carbon. Again, they are formed because of the sea plants, and they contain phosphorus, and they are converted in the form of coal, lignite, and peat. Why? Because of the high pressure. So this was the sedimentary rocks. Next is metamorphic rock. Metamorphic rock, the word metamorphic, that is derived from metamorphose, which means change in form. So these rocks, they are the structure or the composition that changes simultaneously. Now, igneous rock, or you could say sedimentary rocks, they underwent chemical or the physical processes that because of this, the igneous rock, changes its form, and they're harder and they're more compact. And in this, what happens is sedimentary rocks, like for example, take limestone. They undergoes changes to form because of a few factors like heat or pressure. They changes into marble or quartzite. They changes its form. That's the simple thing that you need to understand, that metamorphic rock, they form because of change in form. Like here's a table. Limestone, we read in the sedimentary rocks, they undergoes changes to form marble. Sandstone to quartzite. Shale to slate. Coal to graphite. Basalt to schist. Granite to gneiss. Dolomite or chalk to marble. So because of few factors, it tends to change its form into these things. And the characteristics are, they don't have fossil fuels because they are destroyed during the formation of metamorphic rock. They are impermeable. They will not allow water to enter through it. They don't have pores, you could say, and they are formed due to the change in texture, because change in form. The metamorphose word means change in form. Next is thermometamorphism. Now there are kinds of the processes, you could say. First is thermal metamorphism.
Thermal means temperature, heat. So they are formed because of high temperature. An example is slate from kale, graphite from coal. Dynamic metamorphism. Here what happens? Now this is because of pressure. Thermal metamorphism was because of heat. Dynamic metamorphism, that is for because of high pressure at great depth. And example is given, Taj Mahal at Agra are marbles. They are metamorphosed from dolomites. Examples are again very important. Next is regional metamorphism. Regional because of the formation of mountain building. The sedimentary rocks or the igneous rock, they are buried deep inside the crust. And because of the high pressure and heat. Here what happens? In the thermal and dynamic, we learned in the thermal that was heat, in the regional that was pressure. Here both the factors they are there, that because of pressure and because of intense heat, regional rocks, such rocks they are formed because of the process of regional metamorphism. Both factors are there, pressure plus heat. And when a small area that is affected by such change, and those changes are pressure and heat, they are known as local or contact metamorphism. This is your regional metamorphism, in which because these are formed due to the high pressure and high temperature. Next is economic significance of rocks. Now what are the significance of rocks? How can rocks help us in earning income? First, that the rocks, they are great source of value because they are constituents of minerals. They have minerals. Soils are derived from weathering of rocks. Second, they help in for the materials, building materials. They are source of precious metals like gold, silver, and the rock waste, the things which are not used in building materials or in the rocks which don't have minerals, so they are used in manufacturing various other materials apart from building materials or paving roads. Next is rock cycle. Rock cycle, that is a continuous process of transformation of old rocks into new ones. Now, in this whole chapter, we learned that igneous rocks, they were formed from volcanic eruption. Then, after going physical weathering, the igneous rocks, they changed its form to sedimentary rocks. Sedimentary rock changed its form to metamorphic rock. So these all things, that is called your rock cycle. So a rock that they undergo cyclic transformation, this continuous process of transformation of old rocks into new ones, that is called rock cycle. Apart from this, nothing else is there in this chapter. This is a diagram, and sometimes this diagram is asked. So this was just the chapter, and the pictures of the chapter, they are given in the description box.
You can install Telegram, and I have given the link in the description box. And here in this, it's like a WhatsApp group, but not exactly WhatsApp. So here you can ask your doubts or any book, pictures of book or anything, question paper or anything you can ask here. So this is the best way for you to contact me, those who want my help for like sending pictures of book or copy or question paper. So just download Telegram, and or you could just mail me to Gmail account which is given in the description box as well as in the comment section. So thank you so much for watching this video, and don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Heaven's Tutorial. And thank you so much.